Ever wonder what happens when a government declares war on a bird? And then loses? Spectacularly? Right, gather round, because today we're discussing a piece of history so uniquely absurd, it could only have happened down under. We're talking about the Great Emu War of 1932. Yes, you heard that correctly. A war against emus. It sounds like a premise for a cartoon, doesn't it? But alas, this was a genuine, government-sanctioned military operation. Think about that for a second. Somewhere, a very serious person in a very serious uniform drew up a very serious battle plan for tackling a horde of oversized, feathered, and frankly, quite grumpy birds. So, the year is 1932. Farmers in Western Australia are having a bit of a pickle. A rather large pickle, actually. Thousands of emus, facing drought conditions, decided that the newly cultivated farmlands looked like a rather excellent all-you-can-eat buffet. And when you're a farmer, and thousands of 6-foot-tall, incredibly stubborn birds are trampling and devouring your crops, you might just be inclined to ask for a bit of help. And help they did get, in the form of the Australian military. Because, obviously, when facing an agricultural crisis, you send in the heavy artillery. Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith and his crack team, armed with machine guns. Machine guns? For birds? It's like bringing a bazooka to a squirt gun fight, except the squirt guns are surprisingly effective and the bazooka keeps jamming. The plan, if you can call it that, had the structural integrity of a chocolate teapot left out in the midday sun. They expected to just mow them down. Simple, right? Clearly, they hadn't accounted for the emu's surprisingly robust tactical capabilities, or perhaps, their sheer bloody-mindedness. The emus, it turns out, were not just aimlessly wandering feathered dinosaurs. Oh no. They proved to be remarkably adept at guerrilla warfare. They'd scatter, they'd regroup, they'd lead the soldiers on merry chases through the bush. One could almost imagine them holding little feathered strategy meetings, drawing diagrams in the sand with their claws. Right, Cuthbert, you flank left, Bartholomew, you create a diversion, and remember, aim for the ankles. It was less a military campaign and more a particularly frustrating game of whack-a-mole, played with very expensive equipment. After weeks of this avian-led chaos, Major Meredith's team had expended a truly astounding amount of ammunition for a rather paltry number of fallen birds. The official reports were optimistic, let's say. But the public, much like a cat trying to catch a laser-pointer dot, eventually realized they were chasing an impossible target. The whole affair quickly became a national embarrassment. Imagine trying to explain this to a visiting dignitary. Yes, Minister, we've had a slight setback. Our military was bested by a flock of large, flightless birds. The media, naturally, had an absolute field day. Headlines probably read something like, "Government fails to outsmart overgrown chickens." It really hammers home the point that sometimes, the most sophisticated technology is absolutely useless against a determined animal with a strong sense of self-preservation. It's a bit like trying to solve a crossword puzzle with a hammer. You might make a lot of noise, but you won't get any answers, and you'll probably just break the table. Eventually, the military withdrew, leaving the farmers to their own devices, which, ironically, proved more effective in the long run. Fencing, cunning traps, and a bit of good old-fashioned grit did what machine guns couldn't. The emus, presumably, returned to their farmlands, perhaps with a smug look in their beady little eyes, strutting around like they'd just won the World Cup of avian annoyance. And who could blame them? They'd effectively repelled a national army. The Great Emu War stands as a truly magnificent testament to the unpredictability of life, and perhaps, a cautionary tale against underestimating your opponent, especially if that opponent can run faster than you and has a brain the size of a walnut. It reminds us that not every problem requires a military solution, and sometimes, the simplest approach is the most effective. Or, just don't declare war on a bird. Seems like a fairly basic life rule. So, what did we learn? Don't mess with emus. And maybe, just maybe, some battles are better fought with common sense than with automatic weapons. Stay weird, folks, and subscribe for more utterly baffling news.